What's going on, college football fans? I hadn't heard that intro music in a while. We're back, baby. It's college football season, and it's between the lines here on the First and Long College Football Show Network. I'm Marcus. That's Mason. And if you don't know, this is our best bets segment, week one edition for the 2025-2026 season. Mason, how you doing, buddy? I'm excited to lock it up with you today. I had a good year last year locking it up. Knock on wood. Nice wood table here in front of me. But how quickly your luck can run out in the betting world, and that's why we're out here trying to give these people our best bets and give everybody their best foot forward at the betting window. How you doing, man? You got some good picks for us?
Yeah, man, I hope so. I think I got some good ones lined up for week one. Excited. We got football on right now. I've got on a side screen over here, I got Boise State versus South Florida. It's looking like a pretty good game over here. A little bit of a surprise as South Florida is kind of taking it to the Broncos there at home. So maybe an upset brewing, but it looks like Boise State set to drive right here. But man, I'm just geared up and ready to talk some football. We got 5 days straight of football going on right now. The wife is going to be gone for a bachelorette trip for the entire weekend. So I'm chilling. I'm watching football all weekend long. Couldn't be more stoked. And what's going down and what's being called the greatest opening weekend of college football history. I certainly second that opinion. I think it's going to be a really good slate.
It's the best slate that I've ever seen to start a season off. I mean, this is really intriguing matchups every single day. They do this every year where we got this Labor Day thing, and it opens up, with a game on Sunday and a game on Monday. But sometimes those games are a little lackluster. And even for the games this year that are a little bit lackluster, the storylines are just juicy as hell. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. You know what I mean? Like even the TCU and North Carolina game on Monday, it's just like everybody can't wait to see what Bill Belichick looks like coaching a college team, right? Even though I think that team's going to be garbage, I digress. Let's jump into it, man. We got some best bets of the week. Y'all get ready to lock it up. Get your pen and paper ready because I feel like I got some good ones this week. Let's just for a chronological order's sake, do you have anything on Thursday or Friday? Because I personally don't, but we've got Nebraska, Cincinnati going on here in about an hour from now as we record this on Thursday, or not record, this is live, excuse me. But you got a bet on that one, or do you have a bet on Georgia Tech, Miami on Friday, or anything in between?
Yeah, all of the above. I'll start with Nebraska. Nebraska versus Cincinnati. Too good to pass up tonight to have a little action in. On all the fun, I've got Nebraska at -6 versus Cincinnati. I think this is a Nebraska team that under Matt Rule, we're starting to see the transformation. And I think last year we got some of that young quarterback. I mean, you can't really win with a freshman quarterback in the Big Ten consistently and put yourself in a position to make the playoffs. It's really not going to happen, even with a guy as talented as Dylan Raiola. I'm excited to see what he looks like this year in year two under Matt Rule. This game's going to be played at a neutral site. It's going to be at Arrowhead Stadium. I think that does help in a sense. Whereas if you were playing at Cincinnati, I think you could give a little bit more of an edge to Cincinnati here. But the fact is, this is going to be under a touchdown. I think Nebraska is going to be able to cover this. Really like the offense this year, and I want to see what they put together on the defensive side of the football as well. Kind of a gut call, if I'm honest, but I'm going to believe in Matt Rule and his in his coaching acumen and his pedigree in this game here, and lean on the Cornhuskers -6.
Yeah. I mean, this game at a neutral site in Kansas City for some reason. I don't understand what we're doing with that, but can we stop with that? I mean, let's have the home and home. This would be awesome to watch at Cincinnati or Nebraska. I would be, even more intrigued with it. But you know what? With it being on the front of the slate of college football, everybody in the country who's a college football fan will be watching this one tonight. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Let's go into Friday, man. As I said, I don't have any picks for any Friday games, but I know you said that you did, and you have a couple more picks than me anyway. So go ahead and we'll spill the beans on the Friday stuff, man. What you got?
Yeah, so for Friday, I think the only game that I have, and I didn't put down the days and times for these, but Georgia Tech -4 going to Colorado, playing at Boulder. I think that, Colorado lost a lot last year. Their top two players, certainly, depending on how you think about Shiloh, potentially top three players, but just a lot to replace right there. I don't think that, this is truly a replace. This is a, this is a reload, a restructure. This isn't a Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State where they can send, 12, 15 guys to the NFL and just completely reload with what they have on the roster. Colorado's having to do that through the transfer portal. I like what they got out of Caden Salter potentially. I am excited to see what he does, and Juju Lewis down the road could be somebody that really pops for them at the quarterback position. Got some good pieces, but we've seen this before where Colorado seems like they have really good transfers in there, and then it doesn't really matriculate into anything special on the field. And then on the flip side, let's talk up Georgia Tech here a little bit. I think under Brent Keys, they're in a really good position to really compete for an ACC championship. And I really think that they will be competing, at least to be playing in that game at the end of the year, if not winning the ACC outright. Really like what Haynes King is bringing to the table and some of the weapons that they have there at the running back position. Offensive line looks really solid this year for Georgia Tech. Just want to see if they can grow a little bit and progress on the defensive side of the football. But I'm going to take Georgia Tech on the road to cover here at -4 against the Buffs.
Yeah, this Colorado team reminds me a lot of the first team that Dion had. And, there was a big story in the offseason about, Dion and him getting cancer and things like that and beating that and how much time was spent doing that versus, how irregularly being with the team. And, there's some that's been made about Georgia Tech having to go up to elevation to play Colorado. But, I also say, well, Georgia Tech practices right here in my backyard every single day, and it's 1 billion degrees out here and humid. So, it's like, I don't know, there's elements everywhere, right? So I like it. I like that pick a lot. And I actually might go slide in and bet that. You got Georgia Tech -4 on that, or was it 3.5?
-4 was the best I could get.
Okay. All right. Gotcha, man. All right. Well, let's jump into some Saturday matchups. And the very first one that I want to jump into is the Big Kahuna. Okay. It's going down in Columbus, Ohio, Texas at Ohio State. I've got a couple of picks on this one, man. First of all, I'll start off in the first half. Sarkisian is a master of having a game plan right out the gate. Even in the games where they struggled to score, there were yards and completions made and first downs made on the first drive, usually to start the game, coming out of the locker rooms at halftime. I'm going to take Texas plus the points in the first half. I think it's +1. It may have dropped down to half. But
you can get a half. You can get a half out there.
All right. Well, let me make that correction on my sheet here, and I'll take the half point. I like Texas to be able to be leading at halftime, I think, honestly, in this one. Now, points are going to be at a premium, I do believe, because I think both defenses are going to be the belle of the ball, if you will, in this one. But I'm taking that. I'm taking Texas half a point in the first half, plus half a point, that is. And then the under 47.5 total for the game. I'm sticking to my guns. I know that's a low number. Any number that starts with a 4 in college football, I tend to, kind of clinch up and kind of, usually shield myself from trying to go under. But it's at 47.5. I feel like there's, with the hook there, I feel like we can get under that. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game, man. I think that this one, I would not be surprised at all if Texas was winning 7-0 at halftime or 7-3. And I don't doubt that both teams can make adjustments in the second half and score more points, but I think the first half is going to be so low scoring that I think we're going to be able to cruise under this total of 47.5 on this one. So I'm going to take the under, and I may revisit this one in the money line segment here at the end of the show. If you folks don't know, me and Mason, we have an obligatory, I guess is the way you'd say it. And I put the emphasis on the wrong syllables there. But we have to pick a money line pick that's plus money, right? Every single week, at least one. Sometimes we got more than one. But I'm going to revisit that one in the money line segment at the end of the show. You got anything on that one, man? I got Texas first half and then the under. What you got?
Yeah, in a similar vein, I'm going to take the first half under 23.5. I think if points are going to be scored in this game, it's going to be late. A team trying to come back. It's going to be a close matchup, I think, throughout the game, barring a ton of turnovers, a pick six, a special team score, or something like that. If that happens, I'm probably going to be out on this in the first half. But we see this in week one, especially with the big boys. These are two championship contenders. Maybe 1 and 2 team, maybe the number 1 and number 2 team in the country potentially. And I think that every game counts to them. They're going to go back to their Big Ten and SEC conference schedule here in a couple of weeks, and they're going to be wanting to win those games. But this game matters. You look at Texas in particular. If you look at their schedule, they've got this matchup here week one, which a lot of people are saying, oh, it doesn't matter. It's out of conference. And sure, if Texas goes on to win the SEC, it's not going to matter. They're going to be in the playoffs, of course. Or if they go on to, if they lose this game and go on to lose only one more game, it's probably not going to matter. A 10-2 Texas team, I think, gets into the playoffs pretty easily. However, they got to go on the road to play Georgia. They got to go to the Swamp this year to play Florida, which a lot of people are not talking about that game. And I think it's a pretty important game for Texas. And it is one that they could end up losing. Along with some of the other SEC competition that they have, I think Texas really needs this win more. And so to me, I think that in the first half, and this is a long way to get to this point here, but in the first half, both teams are going to be kind of feeling each other out. They're going to be getting some space, like two fighters in a ring. They're going to be kind of creating space and just kind of jabbing here and there. There's not going to be a lot of haymakers in that first half until maybe late in the first half as you're going into halftime. But then the second half, I think, is where a lot of the scoring comes in. So give me the under 23.5 on this one. And again, similar vein to what you were to your pick on this game as well in the under.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely feel the whole prized fighter thing in the first half coming. We saw Georgia-Clemson do this. What was it, last year, the year before, or whatever, real low scoring. Well, heck, it's been a couple of times, actually, over the last, half decade or so. And I feel like when you get these two big matchups like this, especially when you got two new quarterbacks, I know they're not brand new, but they're new starters. And there's something to be said for that. I saw that Arch Manning's passing yards numbers. It was 250 yards that you could bet, over or under on. What would you think? Just thoughts wise, I'm saying under 250. That's a lot, man.
It is a lot. I think under as well. Those DBs for Ohio State are no joke. They lost a lot. They're replacing 8 out of 11 on the defensive side of the football. 8 out of 11 starters are being replaced, but they're not replacing Caleb Downs. And I'm blanking on the cornerback's name there, but a stud, long, lanky cornerback there as well. So they have some return in production on the back end of that defense. I think that the passing yards are going to come at a premium.
Yeah, I think so too, man. If Arch Manning comes out and throws for 300 yards in this game, and surpasses that 250-yard mark, I mean, that's going to blow my mind. I'm going to just be honest with you. All right, let's keep it going. We've got other games we've got to talk about here. That's a huge one. And that one right there has got all the intrigue. I mean, all the storylines. the rankings, potential. It was a rematch 8 months ago. I mean, what a great matchup to start the season. I can't wait to see it at noon there in Columbus. All right, let's go. Well, we can go wherever, but I'm gonna steer us towards the big ones here because that's the ones I've got the bets on this week for whatever reason. I guess just because those are the teams I know the most about right this second, and the ones I feel most comfortable with right this second. And if you guys missed our previews on these games, please go back, check in the video section on our page there. Broke down all of these big games earlier this week. We'll talk about more of that here in a minute. I've been getting cussed at by the South Carolina fans. Anyway, we both dig our heels in the ground and we fight on the comment section. Notre Dame at Miami. I'll just come right out and say it, man. I think Notre Dame is about to donkey stomp the hell out of Miami. I really do. I just feel like Notre Dame's about to come out here and donkey stomp their ass. I mean, I -2.5. Give me that -2.5. I'm taking a flyer on CJ Carr, and I'm betting on the fact that, I've seen quarterbacks, even though CJ Carr is unproven, I've seen quarterbacks of his caliber throw against this Miami defense. And it's a completely different defensive coaching staff for Miami. I mean, I get that. So it's going to be some new looks and things like that. But I have a hard time believing that you're just going to flip the script, in 8 months, right? Completely. I just don't see it. I don't believe in this Miami defense. It's certainly on the back end. And I know what Notre Dame's about to pack on the offensive line. I know they're going to be able to run the ball successfully against Miami in this game. And Miami, for, all the glitz and glam that they were able to collect through the transfer portal and all that, they're Mr. Steal Your Girl as far as, as far as I'm concerned with acquiring talent and players. I just don't believe in this offense, man. Restrepo was a huge part of this offense last year, dude.
Yeah.
And the year before. And when a go-to guy is gone like that, and then Cam Ward's gone, one of the most electric players in college football last year, you replace him with a guy like Carson Beck, who is a system quarterback, in my opinion. Not a guy that's going to go out there and rally your team up and lead them to the finish line and improvise and play backyard football and win a football game. I just don't see it, man. And I think you're going to have a little bit of that against this Notre Dame defense to be able to win this game. And I just don't see it happening. I think Notre Dame can win this thing by a field goal or more. Give me the Fighting Irish and Jeremiah Love and company. You got a bet on that one?
So I'm taking the first half under again here. It's at 24.5 points. I don't see Miami being able to score a ton of points in this football game, especially early. Again, going back to the big matchups and it being week one, these teams are not going to want to go out there and make mistakes, right? Especially with new quarterbacks on both sides of the football. You're not going to go out there and just gunsling and throw haymakers in the first half. Maybe in the second half, we'll see some of that. But I like the play here, 24.5 points. I mean, a 10-14 is a cover in the first half, and that feels really good to me.
Yeah. I don't dislike that at all. All right, let's keep going here. And let's go on the other end of the spectrum here for this one, because you just talked about a couple of quarterbacks that the team is going to want to ease them into the process and ease them into the offense, probably slow first half. Well, here's a game that I think is on the other end of the spectrum, and we talked about it this week. LSU at Clemson. These are two offenses that, for the most part, are returning a lot of talent or have brought in a lot of talent to supplement their losses from last year. LSU was the latter of those two. They were able to supplement their wide receiver room, and I dare say, if things fit together, and when you get a bunch of divas together, the wide receivers are typically your divas on the team. You never know how things can mesh, but there are some electric wide receivers in that room for LSU, and I think they're about to eat. We talked about it this week. I won't go through the whole spiel, but it's going to be whoever can run the ball better in this game. I think is going to be able to have an upper hand, especially late in the game if you can get a lead. Even at LSU, they got to figure out how to run the ball. Durham last year was a breath of fresh air, but then he was hurt, right? Can he pick up where he left off? Well, he's not going to have the help that he did on the offensive line. At least the team won't, as far as pass protection. I'm not sure it was a great run blocking team anyway last year. But with that being said, offensive line, there's been a lot of turnover for LSU. Clemson, I think, has an upper hand as far as that goes, the better offensive line. Long story short here, though, Mason, I'm taking a little bit of a flyer because I think there's a possibility this could be a 3-point game, but I just like Clemson being at home in this one. When we talked earlier this week, the spread was 4. It's down to 3.5. Guys, wouldn't be surprised to see if this one get bet down to 3. And if you can maybe buy it down to 3, I would do that. I think that's an option as well if you want to, take that hook off of there and give yourself some insurance or possibly a push. But I like Clemson to cover 3.5 here. I think Clemson can win this game by a touchdown. Honestly, Mason, I think they might be able to win this thing by 10. And really, I talked about the offensive line. Clemson's got an upper hand there. I think Clemson, with that offensive line, is going to have an upper hand running the football. So I think if Clemson can get a lead in the second half, they're more apt to be able to run some clock and get some first downs that way. And I think that can definitely tilt the game in their favor. But with all that being said, I think there's going to be a ton of points. So for my second play of the game, I'm taking over 57.5. And I don't take a ton of overs week 1, but with this one right here, the 2 returning quarterbacks and Nussmeier and Klubnik, I just think, and not to mention the wide receiver, we talked about the wide receivers at LSU. Clemson's got their own really good wide receivers in this one. I mean, we haven't been able to say that for a couple of years, right? Or a few years with Clemson. I just see a lot of points being scored in this one, especially in the second half of the game. And maybe it is a little bit back and forth. Vegas 3.5 point line. They certainly seem to think so. But give me Clemson minus 3.5 and give me the over 57.5. And we'll figure out who is the real Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm kind of hoping for a back and forth game here with this one. Not only from a viewing standpoint, it's fun as a fan of college football to see a close game. I do think it is going to be close, like you mentioned. 2 very experienced offensive personnel going against one another. I like your picks. I think if I have to give an edge, I'm going Clemson with the edge here. There is still a lot of uncertainty to me for LSU in this defense under Blake Baker here in year 2 now, I believe. So I think that there could be some upside there with LSU's defense. So I'm going to stay away from the spread here, and I'm going to go with the fourth quarter over 13.5 for the total on the game. If this game's close, like I think it's going to be, then that's when you start seeing the haymakers get thrown and the ball getting thrown deep. Nussmeier notoriously is pretty clutch in the fourth quarter. Saved the Texas A&M game, from last year. And I think Klubnik's equally, if not more talented than Garrett Nussmeier as a passer with this quarterback and with this offense. So I'm going to go over 13.5. All I need is 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I think we can get there in this one, LSU versus Clemson.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about that Blake Baker defense for LSU, and that is what has been front and center of this program. It's been a glaring deficiency, right? The defense has been really bad for a few years in a row. I do believe in Blake Baker, but I also think that he has got a really complex system. If it's going to work, it's going to work this year, and it's got to, right? I mean, you only got so long. You only have such a certain amount of shelf life in college football, and dude he's got to show it this year. His system just seemed complicated last year, and as a first year defensive coordinator, it's not uncommon to see the guys out there thinking more than reacting, and I think that happened at certain times last year, but. The secondary of LSU still scares the hell out of me. I like the linebacker room a little better, and the defensive line I like a little bit better this year, but damn, that secondary still scares me, and that's why I think there's going to be a lot of points here. All right, Bama, FSU. Alabama is going on the road to the Seminoles. Alabama 13.5-point favorite, over under set at 51.5. I've got a couple plays on this one, man. Really, the short of it, I'm not going to sit here and spend a lot of time on this. I just don't believe in this FSU roster. I just don't believe it. I got to see it. I got to see it before I can believe it. I don't think the offense is going to be worth the darn. I really don't. Tommy Castellanos, I like him as an athlete. I do. But, I mean, Alabama knows what's coming. You know, I mean, we all know what's coming. They're not stupid. And even if FSU lucks up and they hit a couple of, explosive plays in the first half with maybe a trick play or something up their sleeve, I just don't see it. I just don't see them being able to hang around long term throughout this game here. So with that being said, I really like Alabama to cover at 13.5. I think they can win this game by about 17. Honestly, I think is more realistic. Ty Simpson taking over for Bama. You know, maybe he struggles. Maybe he has a bad day or something, and that causes some issues. And Alabama's only able to win this thing by 10 or something like that. It seems like hell would freeze over before Florida State would have a chance to win this game. Honestly, because I don't think they do. And then with all that being said, Florida State's defense, I don't think is going to be terrible. I don't think Florida State's defense will be terrible. And with Alabama christening in a new quarterback, I'm going to go under 51.5 on this one as well. And week one unders, go together like peanut butter and jelly. And this is one of those games, especially with the hook there. I like it. 51 being a pretty common number. I don't like FSU's offense at all. And I love I love Alabama's defense. FSU's defense, I think, will be okay. So give me under 51.5. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored here. I could see like 31-17 could be very, very probable. And we'd hit the under there. What do you think? You got to get any plays on this one? I got 2 there.
Man, I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on this game. I wanted to. I think you're on the right side of this. I really like the under 51.5 option there. I don't think I really considered that. But I'm just going to steer away from this. There's just on the off chance that it works for Florida State, because I do think, I like the coaching staff and what they brought in. I like some of the pieces that they brought in and what could be a very, I know it's an experienced group. They just haven't experienced the game together. And that's where I think week one right here, going up against an Alabama team that's in year 2 under a rebuild. I think that Alabama is the right play here. I just wasn't confident enough to pull the trigger on this one.
Yeah. They're probably going to win by 13, and that hook is going to hook me right in the lip, Yeah. But I feel more confident about the under than I do the spread. But this is a mismatch if I've ever seen one. And playing at FSU, these Alabama guys ain't going to give a damn about that, man. I don't have anything else as far as against the spread or against the over-under. I've got my money line pick. What else you got, Mason?
I've got 4 more picks here. So I'll start with Indiana versus Old Dominion. I'm taking Indiana at minus 23.5. I know it's a lot of points to give up here, but I think Kurt Cignetti is just a savage when it comes to these games. And he knows he doesn't have a tough schedule. He's got to win with style points. And I think he's clearly got the better team with Indiana versus Old Dominion. So I think they're going to lay it on them and lay it on mighty thick. Really like Francisco Mendoza and what he's going to be able to bring to Indiana. And I'm anxious to see what the offense looks like this year. And then also, the defense, they were sneaky good last year as a team on the defensive side of the football. Next play I got is South Carolina at -7.5 versus Virginia Tech. I would love to get this at a 7, really would, but I just think that South Carolina is that much better than Virginia Tech. I mean, you look at the roster. I know Virginia Tech's defensive line did an excellent job of pass rushing last year. That was a key in our breakdown. That was a key point that I made was they successfully sacked the quarterback at almost a 10% rate last year. And South Carolina's offensive line struggled, particularly in pass protection last year. But this running game for South Carolina, I think, is really just going to slow things down. Couple that with a defense that I think is really solid on the front and back ends. I'm rolling with the Gamecocks this year, and I think it starts against Virginia Tech in a primetime slot this week. Last two plays are coming in the same game, going with the Georgia Bulldogs not covering a 39.5 points spread against Marshall. Georgia under Kirby Smart, I want to say it's at 38 points. I forget the stat, but Georgia under Kirby is 0-12 against the spread in games that they are favored by more than 38 points. And it's not because they can't do it. It's because Kirby wants to keep his guys healthy. He wants to get guys reps. That's kind of what he's thinking of in these football games. I guess there's an off chance that this game could be, close, relatively speaking, in which case I'm still covering. But I know for a fact that if Kirby gets up 30 points, we're going to see the second, third string in on both sides of the football. And then, you're talking about potentially the second, third team defense giving up a touchdown, making the game even closer. So I really like the play here at 39.5 and Marshall covering that.
Yeah.
Sticking with that same game, I'm going to take the under 55.5 for the same reasons, pretty much. If you're telling me that Georgia's going to win by 39 points or less, right? I'm going to tell you that there's no way that Marshall's going to score 22 points on Georgia, right? Or whatever it ends up being, whatever the math is. Basically, I think Georgia's going to hold them to less than 20 points. And I don't see Georgia scoring more than 30. So, more than 40. And so to me, I think that there's a real advantage there and some plus money in that under 55.5. Then yeah, those are my plays for the week.
That feels like that Georgia game feels like it's going to be like a 31-0 or 31-7 type.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I feel like's coming. Kirby don't want to lay it on none of those guys. And this is the SEC, not the Big Ten like Indiana. You don't need style points here.
Sure.
You don't need none of that. If you play in the Big Ten, you got to have style points, I guess. But not down here, buddy. Not down here. And by the way, you talked about South Carolina. Have you seen those bastards on the comment section? Oh, my God, let it go, people. I mean, Mason, they would have me make a correction and tell you that was the best linebacker core they've ever seen last year, for the love of God. They were so good last year. Guys, no, they weren't. The defensive line was. Okay?
It made them look really good.
They made them look good. Go look at the roster. Go look at those dudes. And I wasn't talking about outside linebackers. I was talking about middle linebackers. So middle finger salute to you guys being assholes over there. It's all in good fun. I mean, I'm an asshole right back to you. So it's all in good fun. But you're wrong. You're wrong. So, and I'm going to stick to my guns on that. But anyway, man, I like our picks this week. I think we're about to clean up. And it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, money line. Let's finish this thing up strong. I think mine was pretty obvious. I had talked about the Texas Ohio State game, and I said I would revisit this one with the money line. There's only one way to hit the money line with positive money in that game, and that's to play Texas. Um, it's really I think a crapshoot who wins that ball game. And honestly, if the game is close, I don't think it really matters who wins the game in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, they both want to win the game, and both fan bases want to win the game. But in the grand scheme of things, I think Texas needs this game more than Ohio State, just for momentum reasons, for Steve Sarkisian reasons, for this coaching staff's reasons. I think Texas needs this game more. I think the coaching staff is better put together at this point and more experienced than Ohio State has put together right now. Give me Texas to win the game. Not crazy confident in that, but that's why it's a money line pick, and it's positive money if I can convert. So I may go throw $10 on it. What you got on money line?
I hear you, man. This week was really tough for me for the money line picks.
Me too. I wanted to pick something more interesting than that, but
yeah, I really wanted to go with Syracuse over Tennessee. I'm just not really sold on that. If this was Syracuse's team from last year and they didn't have all the if they didn't lose so much, I think I maybe would have went with that. I really think Steve Angeli is going to have a great year for them and pick up where Kyle McCord left off. But they lost a lot on the defensive side of the football, particularly on the back end of the defense, and they were terrible last year already. So it makes it a little bit tough to pick that. So instead, I'm going to go with UCLA and the former Tennessee quarterback with Nico Iamaleava taking over there at UCLA, and I'm going to pick them to win at home versus Utah. That would be a pretty big upset, I think, and one of, I think, Deshaun Foster's potentially the best win that he's had so far. Last year only being his first year, but to me, there's plus money here at plus 180. First of all, so you give me 1.8 units here. I like that. The game's being played at home. Ton of transfers come in for UCLA. Some transfers playing for Utah here. But this is mostly a gut call and me trying to find something and make something out of nothing potentially. But I'm gonna go with the magic of Nico, who I'm not huge on to be fair. I don't think he's gonna win the Heisman or anything this year, but I do think that he is a competent quarterback and he's gonna add at that position, at the quarterback position for UCLA. And potentially we could see an upset here. That's going to be one that I don't know if I'll be watching the entire thing with that one starting at 11 o'clock with being that West Coast late at night sort of matchup. But I think that the Bruins could potentially come away with a win here if everything clicks.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's going to do it for our best bets. But when are we getting on? We going to get on Sunday? I guess is probably the day this week, or are we going to get on Monday and talk about, after the Monday games? I guess probably Sunday, huh?
Yeah, we can do a Sunday night, little roundup.
Yeah, well, y'all come join us. Come join us on Sunday night. We'll do a just kind of a recap, talk about all the scores, talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. You can join in the comment section. I'm sure we'll do that one probably live. But if not, you can always still comment on the video, and we're real responsive over there. Thank y'all so much for watching. We appreciate it. I'm so excited for this weekend. I'm about to dig into some chicken wings and beer, baby. It's time. Chicken wings and beer and football, baby. That's what I'm talking about. I already got the grass cut at the house. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't doing nothing but watching some football. I hope y'all get to do the same thing. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you eating on this weekend. I always like to hear what they're cooking at the house. And I'd like to know what y'all are up to this weekend. What are y'all's best bets of the weekend? Let us know in the comment section. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button, all that jazz. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you real soon. Happy football, y'all.
Thanks. Y'all have a good night.